Arcane Season 1, Episode 2, Learning from Vi how to act as a good parent. Let's go. The first scene that featuring Vi and Powder in Episode 2 is the scene in the underground place when they hiding from the Enforcer. And in this scene, we learn one of the strengths that Powder has, one of her ability. It turns out that Powder is a very good shooter. And actually, this is very nice to see if we think about her evolution into Jinx and how as Jinx she likes to walk around with her own machine gun. You discover a strength in yourself, something that you are very good at. It could be like a lifesaver for you and for your own personality and for your own development, because you can wrap around your whole personality around that strength. Best swimmer in the world or the best soccer player, the ability, the talent that they shown is basically the core of their own personality and of their own feeling of self-worth and confidence. And yet we can see in this scene how Powder, even though we find her own strength and we found one ability that she's very good at, it still does not affect her own confidence and on her state of mind and feeling, because she's still sad, and it seems like don't give this ability much of a thought. I think obviously it's because her own self-worth is very dependent on Vi, and her own sense of self and independence is still very low. And her own state of thought is still biased in the way that she's seeing basically all the bad thing in her. It's hard for her to see good thing that's in her. And so the Enforcer finding them, and in those moments we learn the first way that Vi is acting as a good parent toward Powder. She's always looking at Powder. She's always checking if Powder need help. As a parent, one of the most important things that we need to do is on the one hand to be close enough to our child and to always check on him and see if he needs our help. If he will lift his gaze up and look for us, he will find us looking at him, and that's what Vi is doing here with Powder. But it's important that we will not choke the baby in a way that does not allow him to feel safe and to feel independent enough to search and explore the environment. And I think in Vi's example, she is acting perfectly toward Powder. She's always allowed Powder to try stuff on her own, and she's letting her solve issues by herself. And yet, when she feels danger, she's always tuning toward Powder. And if Powder is feeling unsafe and feeling anxiety and she's looking for Vi in her eyes, she will find Vi looking at her and ready to help. In this episode we can see another example of that, and is that when the group hiding from the Enforcer again, and you can see Vi always looking at Powder and checking in on her and always tuned in toward Powder, which is a very important parent trait. In this episode, we see Powder showing aggressive and willingness to fight the Enforcer and to basically fight back. We actually seen here how Powder is actually imitating Vi, and the drive and the excitement that she's showing to us about fighting back is actually something that she is found that Vi have, and because Vi have it, then she is acting the same. And it seems that Vi can see behind it, because she is actually ignoring the drive Powder is showing her when she's telling her about the bombs that she's making. And actually Vi is touching the more important thing in Powder personality in order to help Powder development. Vi is actually touching the strength and the abilities that Powder have, and she's emphasizing those traits in order to show Powder our own self and our own uniqueness and individuality. And she's actually even saying Powder, your own strength is your own uniqueness. By telling Powder what makes you different makes you strong. Stop acting what I want and look closely to the stuff that you want and the uniqueness that's in you, because that's what makes you strong, that's what makes you special, that's what makes you Powder, and this is what's important. So Vi also give Powder the doll that she shown her in the last episode, and I think this is like, in a sentimental way, a very nice touch. Vi is angry and impulsive, and the emotion are overflowing. So Vander is recognized this, and is taking her to the bridge. And at the bridge, Vander is telling Vi about the time that he himself feeling now, and when he led the people against the injustice, and what was the consequence and the price that they paid because of it. I get convinced, but the anger is still in her, and even though she feel a bit lost and she asks Vander, what are we going to do, her eyes are still shrinking, and you can see the anger in her and the unwillingness to accept injustice. My name is GP, and in this channel we're discussing the Arcane series and the development of Vi and Powder throughout this series. If you want to hear more, join me in my next video. Thanks for watching, hugs and kisses.